Good morning, all. Welcome to all the dignitaries and participants. I, CA Bhavi Thakkar, on behalf of the Professional Skills Enrichment Committee, ICAI, welcome all the participants and the speaker, Dr. Harsh Batra, CA Harsh Batra, on today's webcast, Communicate with Confidence, Difficult Dialogues, Email Precision, and Growth Mindset for Chartered Accountants. I welcome you today, ma'am, on this session and present everyone over here for a beautiful topic on communication, which is very important in today's chartered accountancy field. And communicating with confidence is one of the very important thing in today's day-to-day lives. In our practical worlds, like email precisions, mindset of our chartered accountants is very important in communicating with all the different dignitaries with whom we are dealing day to day. So, without wasting much of the time, I would like to introduce our today's speaker. CA Harsh Batra is a committed professional with more than 9 years of professional experience driving audit quality initiatives. Associated with one of the big five firms, and background includes 5+ years of statutory audit experience across diverse industries and 3+ years in the risk and quality functions, managing complex consultations, regulatory matters, external and internal file reviews, quality monitoring, and internal training initiatives. She is one of the best speaker who could help us how to communicate more with so much of confidence. Also actively participates initiatives of standard setters, have a diverse multiple technical and soft skills sessions experience within the firms of ICAI on the topics such as audit reporting, CARO, audit trial, CSR, regulatory updates, and much more. She is a versatile speaker, and I welcome you, ma'am, today on this session of Communicate with Confidence. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the kind introduction and good morning, or in fact, good afternoon, all of you. And I feel very privileged to be, part of this session and discussing with you all key nuances that we generally face in our day-to-day lives in relation to communication. So, firstly, let me start with sharing my screen. I would appreciate that if anyone can confirm once. Let me just share it 1 second. So, just allow me 1 second. Yeah. So, is my screen visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for your patience. So, without wasting more time, we'll directly jump into the topic. So today's topic is communicate with confidence, and as a part of this topic, we'll discuss these four key aspects. First is on navigating the difficult dialogues professionally, and then we'll also move on to some communication part in writing, covering the email aspects, and then lastly we'll focus on two very important aspects that we are facing today as professionals. First is on how to have a growth mindset when we interact with client and internal team, and second, how we can strengthen the trust within our profession, be it with the clients again, and be it with our colleagues or co-professionals through consistent communication. So these are the four aspects that we are broadly going to cover in next 2 hours, if I have to say. But before I directly jump into topic, communication is that aspect that it's we all know. I assume that all of people who are participating or who are attending this session. I assume that you all are qualified professionals, right? Then hence you're already aware of what are the key aspects which we generally need to keep in mind while we need to ensure that we communicate better, and we communicate in a way that we can put forward our point of view in the manner it is required to do so. So what is new that that I can tell you all in this session. So that's why I want to make this session interactive. It's more going to be like that we I'll also share certain of my experiences, be it good or bad, and I would expect all of you also, if you all can also share your experiences where how did you put forward your point, would played a role in making or breaking the deal, right? So because theory is something that we all know that what are the important things that we need to keep in mind. But let's try and make it like an experience sharing session wherein we can utilize from each or other's good or bad experiences, and hence we all can be benefited as fellow professionals. So before again I jump into these topic, I would like to if you what you can all see on screen is something which is very important in, I would say, in today's time. We all are again qualified professionals here. I would just take an example of a say a bullet cart. A cart has imagine a cart as you being a professional or me being a professional. So I have qualification, that way I'm a qualified chartered accountant, hence I carry the correct qualification which is required to do some work. I have experience, right? Since I have, in my case, I have 8 or 9 years of post qualification experience. Hence, I do carry the relevant experience which may be required, to do a certain kind of work. I have knowledge, right? Because again, it comes with both qualification and experience, right? So I have all these things, to carry or to do any kind of work, I'm being asked to, or for which I'm as a professional proposing to. But what is it that that is required now to give a push, right? So that in today's scenario is actually communication. So a bullet card would need a push, right? To move forward. It has all the things, but now it needs to be moved to a direction to keep it going. What is that it needs, right? In our scenario, or in maybe today's era, it is basically the communication, right? Which acts like a maybe a fuel or a oiling, that will keep the cart going smoothly. So that is the reason, for giving this example, was to highlight the importance the communication carry, especially in today's era, where you talk about anything, right? There could be a brand which is launching the same product as which is already there in the market. But what today matter is that how you pass on your message to your audience, right? And how do you portray yourself as someone that you are different from the products which are already existing, right? So that is the importance of communication, I would say, in today's world. So in the slide which I have presented currently, which try to again demonstrate that what as professional we need to do today. I think we need to start finding our own niche, right? While we all have the relevant experience, we might be doing audit, we might be also doing taxation, we might be also helping the clients in maybe advisory work, be it related to India's conversion and other aspects. But we need to find our niche. And for expansion, we should not solely rely on the self employment, right? When I say self-employment, I mean there are so many professionals out there, and probably I think more than 50-60% of them who are in practice, they are majorly working, on their own, right? They may not have the team, but they are maybe solely working as a professional, right? But I think today's time is changed. I think we should explore and we should try that if we can, have a team, right, which has the right experience and expertise, so that your offering of services can be increased. And it will also help you in exploring the option of empanelment, because sometimes that requires certain set of experience, sometimes that also requires certain number of partners, right? So I think we should all we all need to maybe improvise, or in our mindset from working solely to working collaboratively with the fellow professionals, which will again help us in developing a growth mindset, right? A mindset that supports that, it's about the growth of the entire profession as a whole, not the only the individuals growth as only. And last, I would say, is trust, right? I think these are the aspects which I also highlighted that we are going to cover today, right? When I say trust, I mean that trust again at least between our fellow professionals, right? Again, we'll be also covering that in one of the upcoming slide, that uh, when I you would all be hearing in the news that there's a lot of talk and discussion which is going on about having the India Big Four, right? So I strongly believe that it will be possible if we develop all these qualities, right? We have a good growth mindset, we have the willingness to collaborate with each other, right? And we are also willing to trust each other, right? I think today is not the time that when we would be try to hold all the information or maybe all the work to oneself. I think it's a time that we also direct the right work to the right person, right? I have seen a lot of times, when you are dealing with the client and you are doing a certain type of work. For example, you are only engaged in doing India's conversion, but you also encounter that there's some litigation which is going on in relation to direct tax matter, for which you may not have the right expertise, but you strongly believe the client need the right advice, right? So in that case, I think today is the time when you need to maybe help your fellow professionals. You may need to direct your client to the right person who can guide the client, in the most appropriate way, for which experience you may not carry, but that others may carry. So I think we need to have that mindset, so that we all can maybe direct ourselves to developing the India Big Four. I think that will these aspects, in my view, will play a very important role. So I just wanted to give a kickstart by highlighting these aspects. Now, we will come back to the topic, which is again communication, and we'll discuss that how communication, plays an important role in developing all these aspects. So with this, I'll move on to the next slide. So how to communicate? Again, what are the pointers that you are looking at the screen? There's something we all know, right? We need to maybe whenever we are communicating, we need to be clear and we need to be concise. We need to be very we need to clear all the thoughts, or maybe all the negative or random thoughts which are going on in mind, and communicate and convey what we want to say, right? So that will not again happen, maybe automatically. We A little preparation goes a long way, in these kind of maybe communications. So whenever you go for any discussion, be it discussion with your client, be it discussion with any regulatory authority, say any assessing officer, or be it your own team, right? So if you're expecting that there's something which can come up in the consultation, which can come up in the communication, or in the discussion, which may require you to do some preparation or do some study, then do go do prepare before you get into those discussions. It will definitely help you in having a better outcome, right? It will also help you in maybe having less nervousness and fear while you are discussing. I think I have practically experienced this a lot. Whenever I try and go for a discussion, I always endeavor that I read what is going to be discussed. Right. I always prefer to have an agenda before going for a discussion, and prepare for it before I actually get into those discussions. So I think that is going to play an important role. And always, I think, try to convey your point of view, right? It may be wrong, it may be right, but I think it's always better than to be only a mute spectator, right? So when I say right or wrong, I don't mean that you say it without maybe knowledge or without experience, and that's where the preparation will play a role. But at least to try and have a view, and try to communicate that view with all the logics and explanations, right, in a clear and concise manner. One important point that again I would like to just discuss here is that we should practice active listening. So while you may be the one who is leading the discussion, while you may be the one who is kind of a dictator in that discussion, but it is always important to listen to the other point of view, right? I think that, and that will require also exercise of some level of empathy and emotional intelligence as well, right? When you communicate with your team, or again with any of the third party. So this is all theory that we all know. How I would like to maybe drive this discussion. So if you all can see on screen, I have tried to prepare a brief case study, and we will use multiple aspects of it in the upcoming discussions, right? So imagine you are leading one project, wherein you are the lead, and you have three more team members with you who are involved in the same project with different role. And the project is for say conversion, right? And the client is into say IGAP, and now it is required to adopt Ind AS as per the requirements of the Companies Act, and the project is for doing the Ind AS conversion. The timeline which you have committed to the client is, say, for example, 1 month, and the fees which you have communicated and which you have agreed with the client is, say, rupees 2 lakhs. So these are the broad facts, right? And now we will use this case study, in our upcoming slides, to understand the aspects in a more practical and detailed manner. So the first topic that we are discussing today is how to navigate difficult dialogues professionally. Um so again, just to give you a brief background, what do you think would are the common conversations or dialogues which you may find difficult? So before I move on, right, I would like all of you to respond, right, maybe in next 15-20 seconds, that what are the difficult conversation that you have faced in your professional or even maybe your personal life, where you found challenging that how would you put forward your own point, or which made you sit back and think that, okay, this was something that I have not thought before. So can you highlight briefly your instances where you found those some conversations or discussions difficult to deal with? I'll just wait for maybe 15-20 seconds. Okay, so I will move on. So these are the examples which I have thought through, where the it can be difficult to hold a conversation. for example, you need to deliver a bad news, right? It may be in relation to termination, it may be in relation to failure of a project, it may be in relation to a client who doesn't want to continue with us, or it may be in relation to a delay which which has caused a client dissatisfied with our performance. It may be a negative feedback that you may want to communicate to your colleague or to your team member or to your subordinates, right? And sometimes specifically for the people who find it difficult to say yes, right? So saying no to more work, or maybe because you're trying to build some boundaries, right? Or and sometimes even in your relationships with the client or your relationship with your employer, you may also be asked some personal questions. So how to deal with that? So all these, I find all these conversations are difficult and challenging, wherein you before you get into those discussions, there would be some level of preparation that you may need. And I would like to highlight that these discussions are inevitable. I'm sure we all would have experienced this at some or stage in our personal or professional lives. Now, how to handle those difficult conversation. So sorry if I have to go back to this the type of conversations. So let's again see that example that we were discussing. So for example, in this case study wherein we were working on this project for India's conversion. Now say the project has been delayed, right? We had already committed that it will be completed in 1 month. But say for example, it's already been 1.5 months, and the project is still not completed, right? And it may be because of two of the team members who got some emergency and who were on leave, and hence project could not be completed on time. Now, for example, the CFO of this XYZ Private Limited want to have a conversation with you, being the team lead, to understand the reasons for delay. Now this is and this discussion is planned, say, after 1 day or 2 days, whatever. Now this conversation probably is going to be an example of a difficult conversation, right? So you again need to exercise certain you need to be conscious of certain things before you go for that discussion. So now, taking forward this example, if we want to discuss that how we can handle this difficult conversation with the client, right? So these are the aspects that we should keep in our mind. So before you get into a discussion with the CFO of that client, you being the team lead may not be involved in all the execution work, right? But you need to be you need to be preparing yourself before you get on a call or get on a discussion with the CFO. It can't be like that, you are in that discussion and you say that, oh, I was not aware of this. Yes, in the discussion you need to listen to the other party, you need to actively listen what is the CFO of that company, who has engaged you to perform certain work, has has to discuss with you. But you should have a pre-discussion with your team, all the three team members who are involved, right? To understand why the delay has happened, what were the timelines that we committed, where we are. You should also be aware of the stage at which you are standing. It can't be like you don't know that to what extent work is completed. And probably if I would have been at your place, within my human limits, I would have also tried to bring this project to a certain stage, maybe within a day or two, whatever time I have, so that I can have a better discussion with the CFO. Instead of saying that it is completed maybe 30%, 40%, I can come with some defined stage. For example, if there are say 50 or 60 notes that are required to be prepared as part of preparation of this India's financial statements, you can say that we have completed these many notes, and you can come up with the specified areas where you are also looking for some inputs or some maybe confirmations or information from the client as well. I would also suggest that you also have a pre-discussion with whoever you are dealing with from the client side, to basically have, or to preempt, right? So that what pointers that that can come from the CFO of that company, so that it is not a complete surprise for you. um, so this will all come under preparing yourself before the discussion. Then also you should be very clear that what you want to achieve, or what do you want from the outcome of that discussion. Obviously you know that you are at back foot, so probably you need to be more polite, you need to be more towards accepting that there is a delay, but obviously it is subject to the fact that it is a delay from your side. But if you believe, or if you have some facts where you also believe that there are certain delays from the client side as well, that information also you should know pre-hand, but you should be very sure about it. And when you communicate that to the CFO of the company, you should not be you should not portray in a way that you're trying to transfer the blame, but you're just trying to put forward that it is a a collaborative effort, and it requires efforts from both the sides, right? So I think that aspect is also important. It should not feel like that we are trying to the transfer the blame to the other side of the table. It may not work in your favor. So when I talk about outcome, right? So you committed 1 month, right? And you committed certain fees based on whatever time that you committed for that project. You've already spent more time. So I strongly believe that we should be asking the right compensation for the time that we all professionals put. So if out of that conversation you want some extra fees also to be committed to your side, so that also you should make sure that you communicate in a right way. Obviously you need to see both the aspects, right? That if it was a completely your mistake, then probably the chances of getting that would be low. But if it is if it was a misunderstanding, something you can clear as a part of communication. So you need to think that how you can mold that conversation in your favor for getting some extra money also for the extra time that you're going to put. But you should be clear out of the outcome that you want from the conversation. What I'm trying to tell you is that it cannot be afterthought. It cannot be like you are done with the discussion, right? And then it's like, oh shit, you may need another 15-20 days for completing that assignment. So you have almost doubled your time that you committed, and the time that you're going to spend, right? So it can't be an afterthought, right? That I need more money to complete that project. So I think we all professionals need to exercise this, like in our daily work, so that we can achieve the desired outcome. So with this, I will move on to the next slide. Stages of a difficult conversation. So what we discussed before is something we need to do to handle a difficult communication or a conversation. Now there can be different stages of it. So broadly, some aspects of it we discussed. So there could be some reiterations also, which may be there as part of this discussion. So we discussed that you need to prepare for the conversation, right? Then secondly, you need to how you initiate the conversation is also very important. We'll discuss some aspects of it in the later slide. And how you deliver the message, right? That is also very important. Again, what kind of words that you use. Do you sound it like it's a team effort, or do you sound it like something that you have only done, or do you sound it like something wherein you are trying to maybe shift the focus from the what is required to be discussed. So what I'm also trying to say that how you start the communication and how you put forward your point, there is a lot there's a high possibility that that everything will depend on how you take it forward. So be careful in that. Then we also discussed, listen and respond. Again, we will discuss some as critical aspects of it in the upcoming slides. Then, if it is possible, then you also explore the alternatives and solutions. As professionals, we should not be coming up only with the problem, but also with the possible solutions. And then you should be definitely, closing the conversation. So again, I believe it is very important, right? So that everyone knows that what is the outcome, what is the actual outcome. It should not be open ended. And then lastly, there should be follow-ups. And when I say follow-ups, it doesn't only mean that what are the action points from the conversation. It also means that you also taking proactive steps, in asking for feedback, that how did the discussion go, and what do you expect of, in the upcoming meeting, right? So all these aspects will also play an important role as a part of completing a conversation. So let's move on. First is, how to prepare. Again, there are few aspects of it that we discussed, right? So you should know that who are you going to speak with, right? You should have the agenda in place also, right? So that you can preempt that what is it that we are going to be discussed, right? If possible, again, you might also need to understand or need to know in advance what is the point of view of the other person. Again, it depends what kind of relationship you have. If you have some kind of relationship with the CFO of that company, try and have an informal discussion, again, within your limits, right? If you have the opportunity to meet him or her in person, right? Or if you have the opportunity to call, right? So do discuss, that okay, have this meeting plan. I was planning to to put forward all these in the discussion. You have anything else in the mind? So this will all help you in basically, again, anticipating that what is it that is going to come, right? Then I strongly believe that there should be a proper time and place, for having these discussions. For example, if you're the one, who is initiating this call or discussion with the CFO, you should properly block the time of the other person. And if it is going to be physical, then where it is going to happen, or if it is going to virtual, then is it going to happen on Zoom or maybe Microsoft Teams? Everything should be properly set. Because what I have seen in the past, that sometimes it's not what you discuss, it's also that how you plan that discussion also drives the discussion. You blocking the calendar, or maybe booking the place and everything, I think it demonstrates the seriousness with which you are planning to have that discussion. Now, say for example, you are not happy with something at your workplace, right? So, and you believe that you want to discuss this with your senior or with your boss, right? And you are the one who is initiating it. So probably you need to you should be checking the calendar of your senior, right? You should be blocking that calendar again, time and place. It should not be like you're just casually dropping a message that hi, I have something to discuss, and can we discuss it now? I think if this is an important conversation, that you should be prepared for that. And hence you should allow the other person also to know in advance, right? Obviously, I don't expect that maybe it will be happening in all the situations. But but if it is important for you, then probably you would need to have it a bit more planned than going it for abruptly. So we discussed that how you the second step is that how you initiate the conversation. Again, we discussed that. So maybe when you start, right, you would want to highlight that what is it that you want from that conversation. So for example, if again, going back to the same thing, say if it is about that project that got delayed, and that there is some mistake that has happened from your team end as well, then probably you want to, you would want to start by saying that, we appreciate that we got this opportunity, from you, and we are very happy and privileged to be engaged for this project. Then you start with acknowledging maybe, what is it that happened at your end, but also at the same time, having a positive attitude that you're still willing to complete. So you commit, or you start by maybe saying that these are the timelines that we are looking forward to. And how you start the conversation, I think one thing that I also discussed earlier as well, that it is very important to be empathetic, right, towards the other party as well. I think it will not be appropriate to maybe negate or disregard the concerns of the other party, right? And specifically, I think in our profession, we advertise by way of word of mouth, right? So I think it's very important that you demonstrate an empathetic behavior towards the other party as well, right? So what I've highlighted on screen is some examples of empathetic and non-empathetic, language, right? Um, for example, saying directly that, are you not happy with our work? Are you angry? I think that may not be the that may not be the appropriate start. It may be replaced by saying that, we understand that some hiccups happen, and I'm sure, or I maybe apologize that you are feeling this, right? So it may be a maybe better way, again, to start the conversation, right? So this is it. This is from the perspective of how you start. Now, very important thing, which is delivering the maybe difficult message, right? Uh, Again, in this example, saying that, or maybe acknowledging that, okay, the maybe bad thing has happened, right? But obviously you will not say it in that way, right? So I think initially what we discussed, that it is very important that we build trust in our profession. We build trust within our fellow colleagues. So for trust, I think it's very important that we are sincere, we are truthful, but we are smart at the same point of time, right? For example, in the instant case that we are discussing, wherein we committed 1 month, right, for a completion of certain project, and in doing some digging or fact finding, you got to know that maybe the initial timeline that you committed was somewhere over you were over ambitious about it. You did not maybe anticipate certain things when you committed that timeline, or and when you committed that amount of fee. But it is with it is during the process of working on that conversion, your team got to know that there were certain additional disclosures. There were additional, for example, financial instruments which the client holds, which also requires a detailed deliberation and evaluation from the perspective of how those financial instruments are going to be disclosed in the India's financial statements, whereas the accounting and other aspects were quite easier in the financial statements which were prepared as per the IGAP or accounting standards. So probably then you need to come up with a way that that this was also one of the reason that that extra time has been spent, right? Obviously the accuracy of what you are saying, right? And you are, again, as we discussed in the first slide, that you should be prepared for it, but then you should be sounding that very clearly, and maybe again in an empathetic manner when you're delivering that message, right? Secondly, I think when you are communicating, your view, you should be open ended to ask the maybe other party as well. So probably when you are putting forward your point that these are the reasons for which the delay had happened, you should add in by saying that you are happy to take your point of view. You're happy to take the feedback that you have that the other party has for you. And another important thing that I would like to highlight, that do not react but respond. So all these kind of difficult conversations, sometimes you are being put aside, you are also being put down, right? And you can't control it because it is the other person's behavior. But what you can control is your own behavior. So one of the very important aspect of a good communication that we also discussed in mind is that clear your thoughts, right? And so hence you need to clear all the negative thoughts, no matter how negative and or how bad behavior is there from the other side. You should be trying to stay calm and use a positive body language, right? Make an eye contact, but eye contact should be like you are trying to understand the other person's point of view and not trying to maybe stare or not trying to scare the other party. However, you should also maintain your own, self-respect and esteem, while you're having those conversations. Maybe if there is some disrespectful remarks from the other side, then probably you should be also saying that, maybe in a polite manner, that, sir, I request that you to be so you can maybe say that, sir, I'm being polite and I'm here to have a solution which works on both the sides, and hence I request that we can get into this, we can carry forward this conversation in a smoother manner. So probably this will make the other party also to maybe calm down, right? But yeah, the idea is that we should not lose our cool at the same point of time. Then next is listen and respond, right? So whenever you are having those conversation, try to, again, as we discussed, that a very a good aspect of a communication with the confidence is that you're also an active listener, right? So you understand, no, you don't only maybe just don't only hear, but listen what other person is saying, right? See what is the tone that is being used. Try to understand some non verbal messages. Try to see the body language, and then accordingly you should be responding. As we spoke earlier as well, you should not be reacting, but responding. uh, Similarly, your conversation should be done in such a way that it should come out that you are not trying to be a dictator, but you are also trying to give the other party also the equal opportunity to speak and to put forward their own point of view as well. Again, so that you can demonstrate that it's a mutual discussion, and again you are here to give a solution and to collaborate. Right. For example, in this instance case, where there were certain delays in the India's conversion project from your team side, so you put forward your points, what happened, what not happened, what is it that you're trying to put forward. But at the same time, you should be listening. You should be definitely, actively listening to what CFO has to say. Say, for example, if they have a feedback, for any of your team member, again, don't react, right? Take that feedback. Also, I would suggest, it is while it may not be appropriate to negate the feedback, but it is also not appropriate to accept the feedback until unless you have the complete information. Because ultimately you're representing in that discussion your team, right? It may be your own firm, it may be your employer, right? So it should not look like that you are accepting that feedback without doing the relevant background check. Probably your response can be that, definitely, sir, I will go back and see that what went wrong, and I'll have a one-on-one discussion with the XYZ team member to understand in detail. It would look like that you're open, right, to take feedback, but at the same time you're not disrespecting your team, right? Because ultimately, that is a team which has executed the work for you, and you as a team lead, you cannot probably overcome or or maybe because as we discussed that we should look more forward to having a collaborative approach. It's no longer one man or one woman show, right? It has to be a team effort, right? So but it should be demonstrated in how you are having those conversations as well, right? Then you should avoid maybe interrupting in what other person is saying, right? Let other person complete, and then you can again respond to that. Always don't be in hurry to again react to everything which is being said to you, right? So that is why given equal time and opportunity to other person also to speak. Then, in relation to listening and responding, there are certain responses, which may be difficult again to respond to. First is, it might be possible that the other person is completely angry with you. So, for example, the CFO is, very annoyed with you that this delay has happened and everything. So allow that person probably to vent out. Don't try to control everything in the discussion, right? Probably maybe allowing other person to vent out, right, will also help you in understanding the complete picture, which you may not know before you get into that discussion. And once you would also generally feel in your daily life that when you allow yourself to vent out, right, you feel more calmer and peaceful after that, right? So that is why, in case you allow that person, right, to vent out, probably the remaining part of the conversation may go smooth. But yes, it should not be at the cost of your own self-respect and self-esteem, right? That also be discussed, right? That also need to be dealt with and to be responded to. That can be the situation where you may also need to react, where if there is something which is being said which is disrespectful or unprofessional, right? um, then again, probably if you feel that the other person is resistant, right, and it is you have tried to put forward your solution, but you see that there is less acceptance, right? Then probably again, you can't be like, no, this is the only solution, right? You should be sounding someone who is open to other solutions as well, right? So we'll discuss that in the next slide also, that about that in handling those difficult conversation, one important aspect is exploring the alternatives and solution. So there could be a solution that you might have figured out before you started the conversation, but there can be other alternative solutions as well. So for that, you need to firstly identify if the other person is resistant, and if there is a resistance, you might need to be simultaneously think of the alternate solutions. There can be certain situations in which you may also have to act passive, right? So that means you need to ask questions also. So again, as we discussed earlier as well, that you may put forward your own point of view, what went wrong, what went not, what did not go wrong, right? And probably you need to maybe complete that by asking that, do you agree with me? Is there something that additional that I may not know? And do you suggest any other timeline or any other solution, right? So all these things will help in listening and responding in a better manner. Next step is exploring alternatives and solutions. Again, uh, by being part of those discussions, you should be coming with with the solution before you close the conversation. Definitely, if it is something which is win-win for both the parties, then it is the best thing to do. For example, in this case, wherein there was some delay, right? And so what you would want as a professional, that client doesn't go, right? You would want to continue with the client, and you want to continue to also maybe recover the fee that you for the time that you have spent, and you would want to complete the project, and you would also want to have some extra money also, which for which you have spent the time, right? So try to think of a solution which is mutually acceptable to both the parties. I will also give you some aspect that it might be possible in certain situations wherein you may need to accommodate some. In some situations you may need to compromise, or in some situations you may also need to avoid, depending upon what are the circumstances. So accommodate means you put forward certain timeline, right, which may not be which was not acceptable to the other party. So you may have to come up with the timeline which is acceptable to both the parties. It may be a bit hardship for you, but then you have decided to accommodate, right? Or for example, if client is not willing at all to continue with you, right, and you may also have some apprehensions in continuing with that engagement, so then probably in that situations you may have to avoid, right? So you may have to maybe move on. So think of these possible aspects before you go get into those discussion. Lastly, close the conversation. Again, we some aspect of it we discussed, right? Always close the conversation with a positive note. For example, even if you have to give up the work that you were engaged to do, right, then also it's a very small world for us as chartered accountants. I had this discussions with my colleagues and my fellow professionals a lot in the past, that our world is very small, right? You may be working in one organization, or you may be maybe in practice in a certain location, but you will be again, it's a global like we are all living in the era where it's very easy to find out the people from other locations, from other countries, who are also into the same profession. So your feedback goes a long way, right? So you may not be having this engagement for now, but you may be having something other which may come up with the same client, or with the same person that you're dealing with right now. So always try and close the conversation with a positive note, right? That you look forward to working with the other party, and you would like to collaborate on the other projects, right? So I think all these things will help in closing the conversation. One thing that you should always be trying to do is that try to have some feedback, right? That uh, maybe by asking questions, that if anything that was missed, right, that the other party intend to highlight, it will help in collaborating, that there was no other point that got missed, which during the conversation. There's something that you also need to take care in while you move on into the project further, right? So all these things again will help you in having a better clarity for working on that project later on. Next is following up. So following up, as I mentioned, that it doesn't only mean that having another call to discuss the same thing. It may also to have trying to have a informal feedback from the other party, right? Probably what you can do, if you have some proximity with the CFO of that entity, so probably you can have an informal chat with the CFO over a call, or whatever is the medium that is comfortable. That hope you are comfortable with everything. I hope that I wasn't unreasonable during the conversation. Practically, I have done that, and I have experienced people doing that, right? Because sometimes you are in a discussions where 10 other stakeholders are involved, so you can't say certain things in front of those 10 other stakeholders. But probably in those one-on-one conversation, you can try and give some confidence to the other party. For example, if you're having that discussion with CFO, you may highlight that uh, you did, for example, that CFO gave some feedback with the other team member. So you can say that probably that team member had some personal emergency, and hence he or she wasn't available. But I'll try and have more experienced team members on the on the project, right? But again, you have to figure out what is it that you want to communicate in an open discussion, or what is it that you want to communicate in a one-on-one close discussions. So this is also a part, this is how you can maybe navigate through a difficult conversation. I hope you would have found certain aspects of it, maybe helpful. So with this, I'll move on to the next slide. So I tried to cover, these two case studies as part of this session. First, I think case study we had already discussed, and I tried to cover it, in different stages. There was another case study that was there in my mind. I'll just briefly, discuss about it. Say, for example, again in the same project, say there was a team member who was also, supporting, or there was another project which was for the preparation of some income tax case for one of the client, and you know that Mr. Y has worked on it, but somehow the entire work which Mr. Y had done has now to me is now is required to be redone, because it was not done in the way it was supposed to be done. There were certain case law references which was incorrect. Hence, the work was not done in the way it was required to be done. So you are the in charge, right? You may be the partner of that firm, or you may be you may be the leader for that, team lead for that engagement, right? So now you want to highlight to Mr. Y that, maybe, you need to rework, on that. And you have that experience in the past that Mr. Y is not very, open in accepting the feedback, and he may react, when this communicate this when you're going to tell him, to work, to redo the work on certain things. So probably you need to, before you communicate, right, you need to prepare yourself. So you need to follow all these steps, right? That before you get into a discussion, you prepare in your mind that what is it that you want to say. How would you want to communicate to Mr. Y that, he also does not feel demotivated, but at the same time, should agree in doing, because you need that person, right, for executing your work. So I think that also should be, kept in mind, right? So he should not feel that he's obligated to, but he feels that he's responsible to, right? So I think that can come by demonstrating that Mr. Y, is an important team member for this project, right? You can use you can try to demonstrate to you can try to communicate to Mr. Y that, this project in general is very important for the organization or for the firm, right? It is maybe one of the highest revenue generating project which is there for the firm. You had played a key role, till now in the execution. So these things, maybe will, motivate the other person to not to shy away from redoing the things. But at the same time, you should also be communicating that, the quality, need to be quality of the work, need to be improved to meet the client's, expectations, and also to set the right image, for the team and for the firm, right? So all these things you can use in your conversation, to get both the things done. To first pass on the message that work is to be redone, and secondly, you also convince the other person that, he or she has to be the one who is going to do that. So these were the case studies that were there in my mind that I thought we'll discuss with you. We'll discuss the situation one in going forward as well, as we move on to the session. So again, this is I just thought to highlight that what is that you can use the state method, to speak your mind, without also being sounding very aggressive, right? When in this state, S stands for, share your facts. Again, for that you need to prepare. You need to know the whole situation. But yes, you need to put forward the facts in a clear and concise manner, but without also being very controversial, or very, someone who without sounding being someone who is not ready to listen to others. So state your facts, tell your story, right? So that's I strongly believe, in communication through a story, right? Because through story you also remember the things, and also you can make the other person also to understand the complete background. That's why before starting this session, I thought that it's better that I have some experiences to share all of with you, and some story, right? So that we all can understand the various aspects of it. Otherwise it becomes too one sided and theoretical. Then ask for others parts, and again asking for the something that you missed as part of telling your own story, taking feedback, and understanding the other's point of view. Sometimes you need to talk tentatively. So when I say talk tentatively, if I have to give you an example, your conversation should not show like that you know the entire thing. That's why you don't need the input from input from others, right? So you may know the entire thing, right? Sometimes we are too overconfident, to say that I know that I have not done anything wrong. I know that my team is not wrong. But again, you should have that room of doubt for the other person as well. Otherwise, the other party may not feel involved in the discussion. They may not feel involved in the in the solution finding process, right? Which may not work in your favor, right? So maybe use phrases like I'm wondering, maybe the fact that I've given is wrong. So those kind of things also gives a open room for you also to get clarified. And encourage testing, which means that again you're okay and you're open to have feedback from the other side, or to know more if you don't already know the correct picture. So this with this I wanted to summarize what we had discussed, and this is kind of a method that is being used by certain authors. And some authors have explained in their literature and in their books that this can be one of the method can be used for handling the crucial conversations. I hope I was clear till now. If there is anything that you want to ask, we can take up in the Q&A session, or you have any experiences, I'll be happy to take some feedback, or from some stories from your side as well. Okay, so I'll move on. So maybe next 5 minutes I will spend on on resolution of the conflicts, right? So if you're wondering why we are maybe talking about it, because these are probably the biggest reason because of which we get into the difficult conversations, right? For example, in this case the conflict was on the non-completion of a certain project within the defined timelines, right? And sometimes the conflict can be on as we discussed another example, sometimes the conflicts can be because of say if you're in a job, right? You would have certain expectations from your profile, but you believe that those expectations are not being met, right? So hence there is some, it can be possible that you have some conflicts, right? That you may have with your partner, or with your senior, or maybe with your client, right? So they can be possible, these five ways of handling the conflict, which is competing, collaborating, compromising, avoiding, and accommodating, right? So I discussed some aspect of it in the earlier discussions, right? So I will not again waste much time on it. These are again these will work in different situations when you believe that you have done a mistake, right? And maybe because of some strategic reason, right? You may want to compromise. That means you may want to agree to what other party is saying, so you may go with a compromising way. Say again in this instance case, you have this index conversion work from the client, which is a small ticket work, right? But you are expecting more work to become from the same client or from the same CFO, then probably you would think in a better, in a much more broader way. You will be maybe thinking more strategically, right? That you would have more work to be coming your way from the same client. Hence, you may want to compromise on the timelines and fees, right? So that's why maybe that can be the case, that wherein you can go with the method of compromising. Somewhere, you would have maybe expected 15 days, 20 days time from the other party, but the other party has a different timeline in mind. So you may want to agree to a timeline which is agreeable, which is a win-win situation for both, right? So it may be something which is collaborating, or maybe accommodating, right? Or maybe the last, in case you don't want to do the work with the client because of some reason, you can also simply avoid it to resolve the conflict. And these are not only in relation to work, even in your personal lives as well. This is how you can, you would generally try to resolve a conflict, maybe with anyone, with your family members or with your friends. Certain do's and don'ts which plays an important role, right? Is which I would like to discuss here, is that we discussed that having difficult conversations and having those conflicts are inevitable. You cannot function in a saint manner, maybe all the time, right? You may try, and you may want to avoid the conflicts, but you may not always be able to avoid it. I think I strongly believe that conflicts should not be carried on for a longer time, right? Endeavor should always be to resolve that or to address that quickly. If I have to give an example, again, if you're not happy with the work that you're getting, if you're not happy with the profile that you are working on, or if there are certain things, in general, on which you are not satisfied with your boss, right? You are expecting something out of your profile which you're not getting. So I think it's better that you don't keep that to yourself for a longer time, right? Try to communicate that, or to address that as quickly as possible. Why it is important? Because I think it will free up your mental bandwidth to do better things, right? Otherwise, in anything that you do, you will always have that conflict in mind, and you may not be able to give your 100% to the work that you're doing, or to the projects that you're handling. And I think it will also be not fair to the firm or to the client with you're working on, because your work might suffer if you are not addressing those conflicts in a timely manner. So when I say quickly, I don't mean that it should be done in a haphazard or an abrupt manner, right? You should always be prepared for it, but at the same time, you should not keep it for too long, right? Then you should be open for solutions. Otherwise, there is no point of addressing the conflicts. So when I say open for solutions, I mean that when you're having those discussions, say with your seniors or with your partners, for resolution of those conflicts, you should obviously be thinking about the solution that you would want, right? But probably you should be also open to the solution which other has to offer, right? So be open to that, right? Obviously you should not be accepting something which is not in your favor. For that, I think it is always okay to say that I will think about it and come back, or probably you can say that I will evaluate the pros and cons of it, and then maybe discuss with you again, and immediately after that block the next calendar. But you should be open ended. Otherwise, the conflict will remain conflict. Even the solution would be a conflict in that case. Other things we have already discussed, so I will not repeat that. What are the don'ts, right? Don't attack right? It should not be like you are trying to maybe put you're trying to put aside that person. You're trying to maybe highlight only the negative parts. Hence we discussed that how you should be initiating the conversation is very important. right? Again, having a calmer mind in clearing the inner, chatter, and not being too emotional in the conversation and everything. I think these are important aspects for resolving the conflict. First point is very important, that you should know the personality traits of the other person with whom you're speaking to, because you cannot change that, right? So but you have to maybe mold your discussions to according to the personality of the other person. Say if the CFO that you're going to speak to, that that person is very assertive, that person is also maybe rude, right? Mostly, right? And this is how he operates, right? So you should be mentally prepared for it, right? Because then your idea should not be to fight, because that it may not work in your favor, right? So I think the idea should always be to then how you can handle more smoothly and maybe peacefully, right? Because again, let's not try to control something that you cannot change, right? Try to focus on something that you can do from your end. Then I think this is similar to what we also discussed, right, in the stages of a difficult conversation, but this will also play important role in the resolving the conflict. I think one thing which I would like to discuss here is that first thing in resolving any conflict is the acceptance, right? You should firstly you should be knowing that where is the conflict coming from, and then accepting that conflict. I think it is required from both the sides. For example, you may be the role of an employer, who's trying to resolve a conflict with an employee, or with a person who is working for you, right? Or sometimes you are the one who is at an employee stage, or who is at a maybe you're the one who is being given a task by the client. So then you're on the other side of the table at sometimes. So I think from both the angles it is very important that having the acceptance to the issue, right? So sometimes we become very we close our eyes to the world, right? We believe that we are only right? So I think that's where the problem comes, right? Because you're not accepting the problem. So I think firstly I think you should be able to accept that yeah, there is a conflict, and there is a disagreement, right? And the idea should always be that you are trying to achieve a common goal, right? As we discussed, right, earlier as well, there has to be a willingness to achieve a win-win solution for both the parties, right? Then again, listen to each other, discuss the ways to meet the common goal. The common goal, I think, for both the parties in our case study would be that India's financial statements should be prepared by this date, before the auditor comes into picture for audit of those financial statements. Before that date, India's financial statements should be ready. So now that should be the common goal. Now things needs to be worked out to achieve that goal. And I think if you would have seen in your personal life as well, sometimes when you are discussing your personal issues, your elders in the family say that this is a solution. Now everyone has to play has to work towards that solution. So that is a part of every that is an important part of every conflict resolution process. You agree to a solution, you document that solution, and then you also determine who is responsible for what. So now when we move on to the next part of the session, I will discuss these aspects in terms of how you should be communicating after the discussion. Okay. So moving on, we have write emails with precision and clarity. Now again, this is also something that we all know. We all are doing it on a daily basis, right? Whether you are in your practice, whether you are in your job, you are definitely using email as way of doing various conversation with various parties, be it with your clients, be it with your team members, be it with the even regulatory authorities for that matter, with GST department, income tax department, right? So we are using emails a lot, right? And it plays a very important role, right? Because how we write and how we communicate is basically going to decide that what is the response that we are going to achieve. So firstly, let's focus on few basic things. Then we'll also talk about the practical aspects of it. So your subject line, whenever you write an email, your subject line should be very clear. Again, we all know this. Try to address the person appropriately. I strongly believe that your email should be brief. Although there are maybe two schools of thought here. Some people think that your email should be एकदम detail में, and then you should write everything possible. Some people believe that it should be precise and it should be to the point. I believe that it should be precise and to the point, so that other person can quickly understand what is it that you want to say. One example that I can give here. For example, you are now, sending. Say you did the India's conversion work, right? Now you are sending the India's financials draft, India's financial statements to the client, but obviously there are certain comments and there are certain aspects which are required to be addressed. And for example, those points are say 20. So one option is that you write all the 20 points on the email. Another option is that you are anyway going to send an attachment as a part of that email, right? Which is going to be those India's financial statements. So probably you can have one tab in that Excel financial statements wherein you have noted all your observations, right? And out of that pick up the critical ones which you think that needs the immediate attention of the CFO. And it also depends to whom you're sending the email. If you're sending an email to the CFO, you can't be sending 20 points on the email itself, which will again make it very difficult for him to understand and appreciate the efforts that you have done as a part of that project, right? So the ideal way could be that you can pinpoint the key areas or key observations which you think would need the CFO's attention. For example, if there is something about financial instruments which need the valuation, which need the involvement from some valuation expert, right? And you think that it is important point that the CFO should know this, and he might not be aware about it earlier. Probably that point, 4 or 5 key points you can highlight as a part of your email, right? And then maybe the detailed you can close by saying that other key observations are attached, are as per the attached Excel. Or you can have two different attachments, like one can have the complete set of India's financial statements, which would definitely be a bigger file, and then probably one Word file or whatever is comfortable to you. You can have the list of observations, so that if one has to see only observations, then one can open that attachment and see those observations quickly. Then use a professional font, right? It should not be, again, we all know these basics. It can't be red and green in color, right? So use some professional color, use the professional tone, right? Like, you don't use the slangs and the other short forms that we use, as that we or maybe the Gen Z will use these days. Then don't use too many caps, right? Again, if I don't know how many of you know this, generally writing in caps means that you're shouting on someone, right? If you are like writing the entire thing in caps, in a way you are trying to be very rude to the other person. So be mindful of that, right? And lastly, you should be closing the email with your signature, right? It can include, obviously it should include definitely your name and your maybe contact details for that matter. So again, these are all the basic things. One thing again, if I want to share from my practical experiences, that sometimes while responding to emails, we write, only name, and then we write whatever we want to write. A lot of times, I also receive those kind of emails like Harsh dash, would you like to do this? So I would take this. Sometimes this is taken in a way that you're trying to dictate other. So it depends, with whom you're communicating. If it is within your team, then I think it should be okay if you're trying to tell your team member something to do that. But if it is with your client, or it is with your senior, or it is with someone who is at a very respected position, right? So then you should be more polite, right? You may just want to write hi or dear, or maybe something like that, depending upon what you want to use. But maybe not directly, starting with the name, or maybe you're just directly writing Mr. Batra, right? It may not be appropriate in certain scenarios. Be mindful of that. And secondly, try to communicate in maybe pointers, rather than long paragraphs. Again, depending upon also whom you're sending an email. Maybe if you're sending an email to a very senior most person, he or she may not have time to read the entire paragraphs. And we all know, right? We all are living in a digital era where we are accessing everything on our phone and iPads and everything, right? So a lot of people, and specifically who are at a senior position, they are accessing emails on their on their phones, and right. So try to write your points in a bullet way, right? So that you can so that other person who's reading the email on maybe mobile can also understand clearly, right? So avoid using long paragraphs. Again, you can use the alternative way to discuss, right, or to communicate, but maybe on the email subject it may not be appropriate. Secondly, I think we all know this, right? I'd just try and add some screenshot that what is it that becomes part of, email, from to what when you put CC and when you put BCC. If something, which is addressed to the particular person, but they are part of this project, right? For example, you are responding to CFO with the observation. So obviously you will be in two would be maybe CFO, and the other person with whom you have dealt with in the project, and CC could be your other team members who are involved in that project, or other team members of the client who are involved in the project. BCC, I suggest you should be using in lesser. It should be less required, because BCC is more like you're trying to hide from the other world that these people are also being are part of this conversation. Because if I send an email and put someone in BCC, the people in 2 NCC won't know that there is a third person who's also being notified of this information. Probably this can be done when a person is involved at the back end and everything, but then you should be careful of that. I think other things we have discussed, and on attachment per se, I think I would like to mention that if the attachments are too heavy, then probably you can think of maybe other means of communicating. Because if attachments are heavy, then it will take a longer time for the other person also to download and access the email immediately. Okay, so broadcast, again, it's one of the functionality that we can use, right? In maybe certain situations. The situations which in where you can use the broadcast thing would be when you want to maybe notify your n number of clients with the timely updates. For example, as a firm or as an individual chartered accountant, you summarize the amendments every month or every week, or maybe whatever is the time period, right? So, and you want to send those amendments to your client, right? So you can use the broadcast functionality. But what I would always suggest that whenever you communicate those amendments to the client, few things that you should be keeping in mind. Firstly, it should not be like you are again put in the entire update as a part of that communication. It should be a summary, key pointers included. And then you should always think from the other point of view. So we a lot of times the amendments are from the standpoint of the auditor, from the standpoint of a chartered accountant, right? If there is some amendment which is which says that auditor can do only these many engagements, right? Or auditor can do the advertisement, then it is something which is impacting us as a professional. If my client is a company or is a LLP, it may not impact the other party, right? So I should be communicating the amendments and updates from the point of view of another party. We generally use this in our whenever I'm internally discussing anything, or maybe with my colleagues and everyone, that what is it that is going to make a difference in the life of the other person. Me getting more me getting the permission to advertise, right? Or me getting more assignments that I can do, maybe as a part of tax audits, this is not impacting the life of the CFO of that XYZ private limited. So probably maybe I can avoid that communicating to the other party, or maybe I have to mold, right, to tell the other party that how it can impact their life, right? So I think that is important. That means impact on their financial statements or their responsibilities, or maybe this is something they need to evaluate. For example, we all have been seeing that this US tariff thing going on, right? Wherein new tariff rates are getting imposed every now and then on different kind of product, on different countries, and all, right? So whenever we are communicating that as part of our communication with the client, I think we should very clearly bring out that what is it that is going to change in the life of the management, or the other party, right? It should not be, again, if your, say, client is into textile, right? But and it is actually being impacted, right? So then you should focus on the impact on the textile industry. For that, you may not use the broadcast functionality, but you may have to send a separate communication. But I'm sure that your client is going to appreciate that. It demonstrates two things. One is that we are not just bookworms, right? We are not just reading law and the act, and but we are also aware of our geopolitical and economical environment in general, and how it is going to impact the economy, how it is going to impact the business. Because a lot of times we are being accused that we don't, we are not practical, right? But I think this is what we also, when we were discussing the initial slide, this is what also we need to change, or maybe we to be mindful of, I would say, of ourselves, that we know the business, right? And that's how you will also demonstrate that to your client as well, that you understand the nuances of how a business is run, how what is it that things, what various things that can be impacted because of the changes in the law and everything on your business. One of the other example that I want to give here is that new labor code. We all know that so many changes that are being brought, and new labor code was being made effective from 21st November 2025, right? So now your communication should not only include, okay, these are the new labor codes. This has replaced these the old laws, but your communication should include, again, how it is going to impact the management. There can be multiple aspects to it. One is they may need to have some additional registration. You should be very clearly highlighting what additional registration is required, what can be continued, and things like that. Secondly, what is it that is going to be impacted in their financial statements or in their books of accounts, right? They may need to make some additional provision for the gratuity, right? They may need to revisit the CDC structures of certain employees, right? So all these, again, be part of the accounting impact. Then again, you can also communicate that my how my auditing or reporting process will also get impacted. Again, this is a difference. This may be an impact on my reporting, but my reporting is equally important to the client as well. If there's something that I'm going to write in my report, audit report, on the financial statements of the other entity, obviously the management would also want to know, right? So when you're again communicating any update, what I also, my whole point was of giving those example was that you should communicate what is it going that is going to change. It should not be like a lot of times I receive email in messages that These are the amendments, right? Probably I know I am a fellow professional. I may be able to appreciate that, but maybe outside world may not be able to appreciate that. So if you are communicating with your marquee clients, with your key stakeholders, with those big shot CFOs and CEOs, then probably you need to be more precise and to the point in your communication. So this is more for people who are for the people who are representing, and you're representing someone as part of your communication. If you're a partner in a firm, you're representing the firm. If you're a sole proprietor, then you're representing yourself. That is in fact more, I would say, important. So whenever you're sending some communication, remember that you're representing someone. Hence, you are required to protect the image of the organization that you're representing, of you, or maybe yourself that you're representing. Second is that the audience, to sorry, the audience that to whom you're communicating. You should know the purpose, right? All these aspects would help you in highlighting how do you write your email, right? If it is to someone, again, as I said, who's very senior, you may have to be more precise, more concrete. You have to maybe go back and read that email from the person, from the on behalf of the person you're sending to. So always read before you send something, that what is it that you're interpreting. I think someone was telling me a few days back that, Harsh, the right way of communication is that when you read something and when the other party reads also the same thing, both of you should understand the same thing. That is the best communication, right? So that for that, I think you should be knowing that what is the purpose of your communication, what is it that you're trying to write. This is again a small point that I thought I would write, that sometimes it may be not possible that you don't write long emails. Sometimes you can't have an attachment, right? So in that case, maybe you can divide your communication in two parts. You can first have a summary, right? And then you can have some kind of a disclaimer that you know the I've highlighted all the points in detail below, which is which are extended to maybe say 20 points, right? So you are giving a bit heads up, right, that okay, this email is going to be long, or maybe you're trying to justify that why it is going to be long without again putting too many things. So again, we have discussed that sometimes when you're sending an attachment, right? Don't use email when you're sending too heavy attachments, and probably also you should try to summarize what are the attachments that you have attached. I've seen emails in which you may have 10 attachments. One is, say for example, the income tax notice receipt. Second is first response file. Third is probably any legal opinion that you have sought, and like that there are 10 different attachments in the email. For me, if I'm getting that at this email from a junior and without summarization anywhere, I'll probably get very irritated that okay, what is it that I have to see, or what is it that each attachment has. And there are times, I know it's a very basic thing, but still I would like to tell you, then there are times that the names of those attachments are very random. Like until unless I don't open it, I will not get to know which is the income tax notice, which is the response file, and everything. So probably in that case, you should be summarizing what is it that you have attached. For example, attachment number one is this, attachment number two is this, and then you name the attachments properly. I think by this, again, you may have to spend some 5-10 extra minutes more, right? I'm not denying that, but probably you are saving the time, for yourself in the future, and for your senior time as well. And trust me, right, if you want to service better, right, be it your client or be it your own senior, right, clear communication on these kind of communication, which saves the time of the other person, and do get appreciated. So it may be a one time effort, I would like to say that way. Now I would like to spend 2 minutes on this slide, and I want to share some experiences, when to use email or when to not to use email, or maybe we can use email and synonyms with the with when to communicate in writing and not in writing. Again, as part of our daily communication, we do exchange couple of written messages and emails with our clients, right? So you should be cautious of, what is it that you want to communicate in writing and what is it that you don't want to communicate in, or you should not be communicating in writing. First thing is that, if I can give you an example, right? We all go through that September October season of having back to back income tax return filing deadlines, tax audit returns filing deadlines. And since I'm in the audit profession, we do get we do have the last date to upload the to do the AGM for the adoption of the financial statement. So we on a daily basis we all go through the deadline phase, right? And as part of that, we are required to do certain submissions to the regulatory authorities. And good or bad, we know that some aspect of it, that there are instances when the server is not working, when the income tax website is not working, right? What I want to communicate to you is that this message should go very clearly to the client. So whenever that you need to file the income tax return in 15 days, right? And the portal is not working, and you're trying to access it like probably every day. So probably I think it is a better idea that you send one or two communications like that to your client, saying that I tried accessing the income tax portal today, here is the screenshot, and it was not working, and hence I could not upload it today. I think this will help you in maybe safeguarding yourself also in the future. For example, if some delay happened, and suddenly the site doesn't work at the last moment, you can demonstrate that you genuinely try to upload it, but then you could not do it because the site wasn't working, right? I'm not saying that you, again, it should not be like you're trying to shift, right? It's again, that's where it depends on how do you communicate. But I think that communication should go in writing, because I've seen a lot of professionals getting thrashed from the client, that you did not do it on time, and you did not communicate to me that site was not working, and things like that. Probably those kind of communications should go in writing. Thirdly, if you know that your client is generally delays in sending and on collating the information, right? You have the experience in the past wherein the information is sent to you at the last minute. So probably you should be sending some periodic reminders. It should not be that frequent to irritate the or to frustrate your client. Ultimately, they are going to pay for it, right? So obviously I understand that the practical aspect of it, but it should be documented in writing also, again, to safeguard ourselves as professional in the future. So these are the two practical things that I genuinely wanted to share as part of this session. Lastly, maybe you can avoid sharing the confidential information on email. So this is so that I was telling you that should be sent on email. Now, what should not be sent, I think, again, as I said, confidential information, something which is controversial or maybe subject to interpretation. I completely understand, and we have to acknowledge that on a daily basis, sometimes we get some unusual request, or some I don't want to use those words, but some controversial request from the client, wherein they are trying to take some positions, right? Which we may not be very sure of, because we know that there's many aspects wherein the law does not have clarity, where the regulatory has not given clarity, right? Which is again subject to individual interpretation. So maybe those things you may not want to document in email, right? In those cases, I would suggest pick up the phone and communicate, or maybe use some other means, but maybe not doing in writing. Again, the idea is always to protect ourselves as professionals also, right? And I think these days nothing is there is nothing called what do you say, private, right? Because of the social media and everything, we are all exposed. So that's why these are the ways and means we should use to protect ourselves. I think this is the last slide, and on the email part, I think if I have to quickly say that, do not, share your, personal email. I mean, your personal or professional emails on social media. Do not share the snips, of that on social media. Avoid, using that. And then use maybe incognito mode also, to access the personal details of your client or maybe income tax department. Do not share the personal details of your client to any other third party, right? So all these aspects, again, as a professional, we should be exercising, in our daily life. Lastly, I think we will be covering two important topics, which is adopting a growth mindset and building a trust, within the fellow professionals and within the profession in general. Although some aspects, so I'll not be spending much time on this because the important aspects of it I discussed, initially, as a part of the discussion for setting the context for this session, right? So what is it that we should be having to demonstrate that we have a growth mindset in be it interacting with our clients and teams, right? So when we interact with client, instead of focusing on problem, we should be focusing on solution. We should be demonstrating that we have a bigger picture, right? That we again, all these things that we discuss, that when you're communicating any amendment to the client, think from their perspective, right? So that means you're trying to demonstrate a larger picture to the client, instead of just talking about what is the impact on the financial statement, or what is the journal entry, right? But going a step ahead on that. Another thing that, again, I really believe in that, which is the first point, if which is being mentioned here, is embrace challenges, as opportunities. So if I have to give an example, this new labor code, or maybe this tariffs by the US government, right? Or and when GST came, in the past, sometimes we think, and oh god, so much of additional maybe literature that I need to read. Obviously, when this labor code would have come, we all would have felt that now I have to read the new labor code. But now let's embrace this, as an opportunity, for ourselves, right? I generally get very happy when when these amendments come, because then I feel that there's something more, I would have to offer to my clients or to my team, in general, right? So I think that mindset is very important. That growth mindset is very important for all of us, right? And I think if one point I would have to highlight here is, I think we would have it in the next slide when we talk about trust, is that collaborative approach. So that collaborative approach also contributes significantly, to the overall growth mindset, in general. Because if we are planning, or if we are thinking to have the India Big Four, it can't happen with one person doing everything. It has to be a team effort. It has to be a combined effort of multiple professional, and that's where having the collaborative approach would play a key role. Then seek and use feedback. Again, as we discussed that example of wherein the delay was there on the index conversion, right? So seek feedback from CFO in that discussion, and then use that feedback, maybe later, and demonstrate that you have used that feedback in addressing the overall challenges, and and whatever pointers that were being highlighted. How you can demonstrate the growth mindset when you are interacting with your own team, right? Appreciate the process and not only concerned about the outcome, right? I think it's again, as I said, that it can't be a one man or one woman show, right? It will always be a team effort. So you need to appreciate the efforts and the time that your team has spent we all are spending time away from our personal lives every day, and we're spending 8, 9, or whatever number of hours in our work. So we need to appreciative of each other, right? You may not always want to be able to achieve the desired outcome because of n number of reasons, but then I think you should be enjoying the process. I strongly believe in that, right? You may be assisting a client for certain thing. You may end up not completing the project because of again any reason, but you should be learning in that process. You should be enjoying that process, because only then you will be able to, I think, learn, right? And even if the outcome is not achieved, you will be able to achieve those learnings in your work in general. I think rest. I think we all know that we need to encourage cross-functional collaboration. If I think people or the audience who is in employment would be able to appreciate or understand this. Sometimes you are just being stuck, or you're just being doing one thing for over a period of time. Like I have majorly expertise in audit, but I always make an effort to speak to people from other teams. I think that we all should be doing as professional, because I may have expertise in audit, but I'm expected to have knowledge of income tax, GST, and other things as well. Right. So I think it is important that we should be speaking to professionals in other functions, so that we can have an understanding from the other side as well. And I think that understanding will help us in forming a better view, or maybe a broader view. Right. We would be able to look at the things from a broader angle if we collaborate with the other functions. And celebrating the success of others. That means if any of your team member has done something good, acknowledge that, recognize that, and appreciate that. And while also not making the other team members demotivated. So I think that these are the important aspects that we all need to keep in mind to have an overall growth mindset. Next, we will move on to how we can strengthen the trust through consistent communication. Again, in the next 3-4 slides, I have tried to summarize it, but let me just discuss in a quick way. So these are basics. So I'll have mostly spoken about this. So I'll skip that for now. Few important things that I would like to mention here is that having a regular check-in. So again, going back to that example that we discussed, it's not a one-time meeting with CFO. That should be a concern. Okay, that was actually a difficult conversation that you had, right? But now, you as a team leader, or as a partner, or as a professional, your endeavor should be that you take a follow-up check-ins, or regular check-ins, both from your team and your from client. You may have an informal conversation with the CFO, that is he okay with the progress? Is there something that you would want to highlight to the CFO, or is there something that CFO wants to, he may not be highlighting you to you now. He may be waiting for another catch-up meeting. But is it now? It is. I think it's your responsibility to do those regular check-ins, and definitely it helps in demonstrating that you are serious about the project. You are there in the project in the right spirit, and you're committed to complete that within the timelines that you have now committed with the client. So I think that will help in establishing the overall trust with your client. Then proactive updates. So what I think what I highlighted in the bold in the first sentence is something we all should be very careful and mindful of. I think it should not be the client who is asking for an update. It should be you as a service provider who should be anticipating and updating the party proactively. Right. Again, if anything you anticipate would need more time, would need more attention, I think highlight it on a proactive basis, right? Again, if you again, don't hide and don't shy, right? If you think that if there's a situation that one of your team member has again needs to go on some personal leave, or he or she may not be involved in the project, communicate that clearly. I think if the transparency is always appreciated and and respected over hiding or lying on the information. I think that's where we all need to just remind ourselves that it may we may also not find it right then when we are being not being shared certain information which is required to meet deadlines, or communicate early, right? Again, I specifically wanted to focus on this. I think one of the very important aspect of demonstrating our responsibility and accountability is that when we deliver the work within the defined timelines. So that's why I strongly believe that let's not overcommit, let's not be over ambitious. If we think that more time is required, I think we should be telling that more time is required instead of overcommitting and making yourself and your team slogging to reach those unrealistic deadlines. I think it's better to communicate the realistic deadlines, and then work within those realistic deadlines. And if as we discussed in this slide's proactive updates, if you expect that there would be certain hiccups, that there are certain challenges that are coming, because of which more time will be required, communicate that early. I think that matters equally in your conversation and your commitments to your clients, and in your conversation and commitments to your seniors, if you're in employment, or if you're working for someone else, right? So having the right expectations is better. Another thing, when which I wanted to just quickly highlight, is that when we are building trust, obviously we mentioned that accountability, transparency is very important to have that trust within your clients and team. One thing that I've seen a couple of times is that when you are communicating your pricing to your client, I don't want, I don't want to say that you overshare, but you should be having some basis to justify your fees, or the price that you're charging, right? Because a lot of us don't have that tendency, right? We think that, okay, this is the market rate and this is what generally people charge, so this is something I will charge. Obviously it is, we should be doing benchmarking for sure, but you should have your own basis, right? And that's where the confidence of your time and effort will come from. The other party may be doing that same work for some price. If that is not doable for you, because you use some set of software, you have a different expertise of the resources, you should be asking that price, and that you should know the basis. You may not telling it upfront all the time. I think that's where I leave that to the professionals to decide, but you should have that, because you may be asked nowadays, the independent directors, the board members, and all the stakeholders, CEOs, CFOs, they are also getting smarter day by day, and they also know what is happening in the market of CAs as well, right? So then you should be prepared of what you are charging, right? And avoid any surprises if possible. So with this, I am done from my part. So we have, I think, 7 minutes to go before we our scheduled time. So I would happy to take any questions and experiences specifically, which with which we all can benefit, right? Me or the other people in audience. So are there any question which are there?
Ma'am, right now there are no questions.
Sure.
So since you have finished up, just wait for just half a minute. If somebody is posting the questions, we will let us know.
Sure, sure, sure.
Ma'am, we are right now not having any questions, but I think we can wait for a minute more.
No, no problem.
Ma'am, there are no more questions, so I think we can wrap up this session.
Okay, great.
Okay. So, ma'am, it was just a wonderful session. You know, you spoke for such a long time, giving the basic clarity about all the topics that you have covered in your slides, making this whole thing very interesting. That, you know, how to communicate more with confidence, especially, you know, when people are drafting the emails, they are having enough problems regarding the language, the clarity that they want to specify, because when we speak and we write, two different modes have different meanings. When we go for it, if in analyzing the same things, it becomes very important. You explained us so many basic things that we always have to recollect when we are doing all these things. So the whole session was very enlightful, ma'am. It's such a honor that today you are a part of this wonderful webcast on communicate with confidence, difficult dialogues, email precision, and growth mindset for chartered accountants, which is very important. The very nice, beautiful session organized by Professional Skills Enrichment Committee ICAI. On behalf of this Professional Skills Enrichment Committee I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to our speaker, Shri Harsh Batra, for her enlightening session. A wide round of applause and thanks to the organizers of Professional Skills Enrichment Committee ICAI and our today's speaker, Sia Harsh ma'am, as well as all the other stakeholders who were present in this memorable webcast. I would like to extend my thanks to all those who have made this webcast a grand success. All the technical team members, Dr. Sambit Kumar Mishra sir and his team, all the people who were with us for more than 2 hours and patient listening had made this session a very beautiful one. Thank you, ma'am, for joining us. Signing off today and have a nice day. Wishing you all and seeing you forward for the next session. Thanking you from CA Bhavi Thakkar. Have a nice day.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, ma'am.